In the tropical paradise of Thailand, known for its stunning islands and vibrant full moon party, a dark and unexpected turn of events shatter the island's peaceful atmosphere.
Koh Phangan is the last place you'd expect to find a crime such as murder.
The most recent and disturbing statements by the young man who admitted to the murder of Colombian doctor Edwin Arrieta.
I thought about hitting him again. I stayed there for about 2 hours, just standing around.
La policía tailandesa ha revelado los resultados de la autopsia realizada al cirujano colombiano Edwin Arrieta.
There was no burial of his body. That seems to me to be the most painful thing.
We've consulted with the prosecutor on some of the evidence, and it is consistent enough to charge him with premeditated murder, which carries the death penalty.
Join me as we discover the twists and turns of a story filled with mystery, deception, and heartbreak. A tale that shook this island and left a legacy that nobody will soon forget. Thailand, known for its beautiful beaches, ancient ruins, and royal palaces, it looks to be one of the most beautiful places in the world. You know, I'm actually getting to go in December, and I'm so excited and have been researching it like crazy. And through my research, I came across this story that I just can't get my mind off of. I have found myself deep in the rabbit hole, and after reading so much about it, I decided I want to make a video about it. In the Gulf of Thailand sits Koh Phangan, where our story will take place. Koh Phangan is a stunning island known for its white sand beaches, clear waters, and a laid-back atmosphere. But it has gained worldwide fame for its monthly full moon parties, which brings in thousands upon thousands of people on the island to celebrate and party. It is said to be one of the best beach parties in the world. For many, it's the ultimate paradise. But in this story, paradise quickly turns into a chilling reality. Edwin Arrieta Ortega was a well-established plastic surgeon in Colombia. Originally from the super small town of Larica, Edwin grew up super close to his family. And as his sister said, growing up, he always had 2 dreams: to be a doctor and to see the world. With the love and support of his family, Edwin achieved his dreams and was a successful plastic surgeon and was able to travel all around the world. I actually found his Instagram, and he has a very decent following, and his office looks really nice, so it is so clear that he was doing exactly what he sought out to do since he was a child. Edwin seemingly had it all lined up: his booming career, his family that loved and supported him, his financial means that allowed him to travel, and a full life ahead of him. But that all came crashing down when he decided to go to Thailand on a vacation. On August 3rd, 2023 at 12:30 p.m., trash collectors in Thailand on the island Koh Phangan came across what looked to be a body inside of a fertilizer bag. Because of the size of the pelvis, authorities were able to conclude that it was a foreigner's body and that it most likely was a man's body. They were also able to conclude that the man had died no longer than 24 hours ago. The problem was, quote, they said that trash collectors had picked up the sack from another location on the island without realizing what was inside. Police are now trying to retrace their movements to determine where the sack was originally dumped. The following day, more body parts were found. The authorities were immediately called in, and the small island of Koh Phangan was immediately thrown into a gruesome murder investigation. As investigators pieced together what happened, they were able to identify the remains as Edwin himself. But now the hard work was ahead of them. Who killed him, and why? Edwin had been staying on the island with a man, Daniel Sancho Bronchalo, and they had been seen together all over the island, in restaurants, at their hotel. But after Edwin went missing, Daniel still remained. Daniel Sancho Bronchalo is the son of the famous Spanish actor Rodolfo Sancho Aguirre. His mother, Silvia Bronchalo, is also an actress, and his grandfather, Sancho Gracia, was a Hollywood actor and was in the 2002 Oscar-nominated film The Crime of Padre Amaro. Coming from a super successful and well-known family, Daniel didn't quite hit the limelight in the same way that his family did. He was a chef and had a YouTube channel where he would show himself cooking, but it seemed to be very niche, and it never seemed to take off in the way that I'm sure he hoped it would, especially with his family's name behind him. According to the Spanish newspaper El País, who I got a lot of this information from and who extensively covered the case throughout the whole entire process, the relationship between Edwin and Daniel had been going on for over a year. They actually met on Instagram, where they bonded over their love for travel. They had supposedly met numerous times, and according to Daniel, their meetings involved friendship, sex, and money. Edwin had been reportedly spending a lot of money on Daniel and even had sent him a credit card with $10,000 on it. Edwin was starting to think of his life outside of Colombia, a life with Daniel, and even had plans to open up business in Madrid so that he could be closer to his love. To Edwin, it seemed like this relationship was very meaningful and serious to him, and he looked at Daniel as his future and as his partner. But to Daniel, it seemed the relationship was very different. He maintained that he was heterosexual and actually had a new girlfriend named Laura, and said that the money that was given to him was solely to help his business. But they had exchanged explicit photos, so to me, it sort of looks like maybe Daniel looked at Edwin as a sort of a sugar daddy situation unbeknownst to Edwin. Which is also weird to me because if Daniel comes from a lineage of such successful actors and money in his hometown, why is he looking for a sugar daddy? Regardless, they then had plans to go to Thailand together to go to the full moon party. Edwin had booked a hotel from July 31st to August 3rd for both him and Daniel. Daniel had arrived a bit earlier and had picked up Edwin from the airport on his motorcycle, where they strolled around the island and dined together. But on August 1st, he murdered Edwin. Quote, following the murder, the Spaniard spent 3 hours dismembering the corpse. He cleaned the bungalows and dumped bags of human remains in the landfill and at the bottom of the sea, for which he hastily purchased a kayak for $1,000. One of the most disturbing parts of the story to me is that after he did all of that, he still went to the full moon party, but with 2 girls, and partied his night away. To me, I can't grasp, first of all, committing such a horrific crime, but then following that by going to a party and being able to enjoy and relax and have fun. That mindset really scares me. Supposedly, he kept getting calls from Edwin's sister because she had not heard from Edwin since he got to Thailand, and he normally communicated with her all the time, so she was nervous about if he was okay and safe, and I guess those calls are what prompted Daniel to decide to go down to the police station and report Edwin missing. If I could guess Daniel's train of thought, it was if he goes down to the station and reports Edwin missing, then maybe it will make him look innocent to the crime. But the problem was that when he got to the station, he was covered in cuts and bruises, which immediately alerted the police. On top of that, and unbeknownst to Daniel, they had been finding more and more of Edwin's body parts scattered all around the island. This, with the cuts and the bruises, was enough for them to detain Daniel and start their own private investigation.
He deceived me. He made me believe that what he wanted was to do business with me, to put money into the company in which I'm a partner. But it was all lies. The only thing he wanted was me, for me to be his boyfriend. And every time I tried to get away from him, he would threaten me.
The first stop was a bungalow that Daniel and Edwin had been staying in. The investigators found nothing. In fact, the room was spotless. No signs of blood, no lamp broken or anything, nothing to say that a murder took place in that room. But at the very end of their search, the investigators found human hair and tissue in the shower drain. This really raised suspicion, and Daniel was arrested. At first, Daniel denied having anything to do with the murder, but after continually getting questioned and presented with the evidence that they had, Daniel changed his tune and confessed. But his confession was that it was an act of self-defense. Daniel's confession that he felt trapped or blackmailed in his relationship with Edwin played into the harmful stereotypes of LGBTQ relationships, where the victim was controlling or predatory, which is a trope that has been historically used as a way to justify violence against queer people. Regardless, Daniel said that Edwin had made him break up with his girlfriend, and that when Daniel had expressed interest to end his relationship with Edwin had blackmailed him and threatened to release the explicit images that Daniel had sent him. So then, in Daniel's words, they got into a heated argument that turned physical, and Daniel pushed Edwin, and Edwin fell in the shower, hit his head, and fell and died right then. Daniel then said he turned the shower on to try to get the water to hit his face and wake Edwin up, but it didn't work. And so then Daniel said that he followed that up by stabbing Edwin in the chest and slitting his throat, which to me is the dumbest thing that Daniel could have told investigators, because if you weren't intentionally trying to kill someone and you pushed them and they fell and hit their head and they died, why would you follow that up with stabbing them and slitting their throat? Wouldn't you just immediately call police and lay it all out for them? It's just so confusing to me that Daniel thought that that was the right thing to say, but he said it regardless. But to many, Daniel's initial confession struck a chord, especially with people in Spain, where the media portrayed Daniel as a young man who got caught up with something far darker than he could ever even imagined. There was significant public sympathy for Daniel, especially in the beginning. Some saw him as a victim, someone who acted out of desperation in a moment of extreme pressure. Many worried about how Daniel would be treated under Thai law, where the death penalty was an option. Some voices in Spain even called for Daniel to get extradited back to his own country, where they believed he would get a fairer trial and even be able to avoid the death penalty. But not everyone was on Daniel's side. As more details of the crime came to light, the brutality of the dismemberment, the fact that the body was chopped up, which is already very scarring to think about, that a chef who cuts meat and stuff is now cutting up a body and placing different body parts all around the island. It's so disturbing. And then on top of that, the cold confession that he gave. Some began to question if the media's portrayal on Daniel was way too soft. Was he really the victim? Or was this an attempt to sway the public opinion in his favor? And what about Edwin? As the Spanish media focused so much on Daniel and his story, many people felt like Edwin himself had been forgotten. Criticism emerged, especially from the LGBTQ communities, that the media was downplaying Edwin's life and accomplishments to justify Daniel's actions. Edwin was not just a figure in Daniel's life. He was a successful surgeon who had so much love for his family and the people around him and had so many dreams for the future that was cut so short. And while Spain debated Daniel's fate, many in Colombia and around the world called for justice for Edwin. Regardless, now was the question, did Daniel kill Edwin from self-defense, or was this a premeditated murder? In their continued search for more proof and to see if what Daniel said was true or not, they came across security footage of Daniel alone looking nervous in a convenience store as he bought cleaning supplies, large trash bags, and knives just days before the body parts were found. This footage made them question everything that Daniel had been saying, and rightfully so. If it wasn't premeditated, and it was just a spontaneous, heated moment that accidentally killed Edwin, why would he have been seen the day before buying knives and cleaning supplies and everything that you would buy if you were planning to murder someone? Thankfully, authorities had the same thought and concluded that Daniel had murdered Edwin so that he could move forward with his life with his girlfriend and not be worried that Edwin would leak images or anything would mess that relationship up.
La policía tailandesa ha revelado los resultados de la autopsia realizada al cirujano colombiano Edwin Arrieta. Según ese informe, Daniel Sancho, el asesino confeso, le dio un puñetazo que lo derribó, pero Edwin murió degollado.
Con estos resultados ya en la mesa de los investigadores se responde a una de las preguntas más importantes que había quedado en el aire, la causa concreta de la muerte. Y esa es, según el informe de la autopsia, que Daniel Sancho degolló a Edwin Arrieta.
The case continued to get pushed for various reasons, such as they needed a Spanish translator there, but a lot of people felt like they were using these as excuses to give themselves more time to figure out their argument. But on August 29th of 2024, this year, a Thai court sentenced Daniel to life in prison. Technically, under Thai law, they have 84 days to conclude the investigation, but because of Daniel's compliance, that sped up the process a lot, and because of that, they decided to not give him the death penalty and to give him life in prison instead. Investigators concluded that the murder was premeditated, that Edwin had been stabbed, ruling out that it was accidental like Daniel had told the police. Quote, investigators are sure that it was not an accident. It was premeditated murder because he had previously planned to buy material, including a knife. In addition, the victim had stab marks on the right side of his chest. Daniel was ordered to pay Edwin's family 4 million baht, which is around 120,000 US dollars, I believe, which thank God for that because Edwin's family was reliant on his income. And thankfully, which is most important to me, Edwin's family is happy with the outcome. Quote, let him be left in Thailand so he can take time, all the time that God gives him to live, to think about what he did. He not only dismembered my brother, he dismembered a family. I am just so relieved that the family is happy with the outcome and feels that justice has been served. I just feel like so many times, especially when one side of the story is filled with money and fame and notoriety like Daniel's family, justice sometimes isn't served, and I really give it up to Thai police and the judge for giving what looks to be the best punishment for Daniel's actions. Edwin Arrieta, your legacy and what you have built will never be forgotten. Your dreams that you accomplished coming from such a small town in Colombia and making it as a plastic surgeon that's able to travel the world with your financial means, it's so aspirational, and I am just so sorry that your story was cut so short. This story may have twists and turns that we still fully can't understand, but what we can do is ensure that Edwin's name is remembered with dignity and respect. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot different than any other videos I've done before, but I found this story and I couldn't get out of my mind and I wanted to tell it to you. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you very, very soon. Okay, bye-bye.